What is good, everybody? It is Simply the Boss, and today we're back with some more boss logic. Sit back, relax, and get ready for another episode of me overthinking anime. Today's topic: why Shonen Jump hates Gohan. Let's get into it. Gohan has every reason to have PTSD. He was kidnapped and used as a hostage by his uncle at 4 years old. After seeing his dad die in front of him, he was taken by his dad's killer, Piccolo, to be treated as a child soldier against Nappa and Vegeta. By the time that fight happened, he was 5 and saw nearly everyone he fought beside die or get maimed before his dad miraculously showed up. Even then, his dad and friends were so badly beaten and barely eked out a victory against Vegeta. He was then sent to space to go to Namek and was 6 by the time he arrived with Krillin and Bulma, only to stumble into a full-on genocide, which he and Krillin get right in the middle of despite being vastly outnumbered by a military force covering the entire planet. He eventually gets his potential unleashed, and this eventually shows how one-dimensional writing is in the world of Dragon Ball. While his physical attributes get boosted, it could also be argued that this was when his intellect was also impacted. Gohan's tactical mind and enhanced power barely helps, as he is eventually forced to team up with the guy that ordered the massacre of his friends, Vegeta, where he must confront people that even Vegeta fears, or at least doubts they can win a direct fight against the Ginyu Force. Skip ahead to Gohan getting his neck and spine broken by Recoome. And yes, Goku eventually pops up, tosses his centibeans to heal everyone, and then physically shames the Ginyu Force. But that means he's lived through the pain of every beating and endured every trauma without the sweet, sweet embrace of death. Chaozu knew what he was doing. Skip to the Cell Saga and Gohan has earned one of two things: early retirement or main character status. Shonen Jump said no to both. His potential is always dangled in front of us through every fight and training scenario, leading to his eventual fight against Perfect Cell. The Cell Saga is also Toriyama's most turbulent time in dealing with editors, specifically his former editor, Kazuhiko Torishima, and his current editor, Yu Kondo. Toriyama has every intention of Android 19 and 20 being the definitive villains of the arc, but was ultimately bullied by Torishima into changing it because he didn't like Toriyama's concept. So, doing his best to comply, he created Androids 17 and 18 on the fly, creating a more brutal backstory for future Trunks' origin and his link to Gohan. I'll leave the quote from Toriyama to go into the pushback about this and the eventual push for Cell. Again, Toriyama kept trying to make others happy during this process, making time travel convoluted as a means to introduce yet another villain he hasn't intended on. And when being told Cell was too ugly, he created his favorite version of Cell, the second form, which he would go back to once he had full creative control of the Dragon Ball superhero movie. I'll leave another quote from Toriyama himself. All of this to say, the lead up to Gohan fully embraces his strength and finally being set up to take the torch from his father as the main protagonist was messy behind the scenes. The writing from Toriyama led to his more famous level of forgetfulness that Saiyans were born with tails. First here with Baby Trunks and later with Goten. The constant pressure from others to change things on the fly being enough to get him to just space off the more basic parts of his own world building. But eventually we got there. Goku admits he can't win. He put his son front and center to take over. He gives the enemy the edge by tossing Cell a Senzu bean just before feeding Gohan to the wolves. It's rough and messy, and Gohan struggles to take part until being forced to see that he can't sit back and rely on the power of others. That doing so will result in a life of always losing to others, starting with Android 16. After being forced to accept the reality, Gohan goes on to massacre Cell's babies, and then goes on to use his full power to wreck Cell completely. Further pushing Gohan's shift to the main protagonist, Goku sacrifices himself when Cell attempts to blow up the planet when confronted with an actual loss. After this, Gohan has to further push himself because Cell becomes his true, legit, for abilities this time, perfect form. Gohan then kills Cell in the biggest bad-to-the-bone beam battle that still gets referenced by fans today. After this experience of Toriyama having to 1. Evade criticism from every angle in its process, 2. Establish Gohan's necessary growth and push to become the new main protagonist, 3. Killing off Goku again in the series, which, according to the rules established before about the Dragon Balls, would show that he'd never be able to come back. Gohan was written and designed in a way that was a middle finger to everyone, in a way that was fun for Toriyama and no one else. Maybe the trauma of all that he endured at this point, as well as being the most violent he had ever been, caused him to need to revert to a goofy version of the Ginyu Force that would have left him crippled and out of the spotlight. Again, Chaozu knew what he was doing. A big part of this is because Shueisha and Shonen Jump approved the Otherworld tournament arc, specifically because it was a tournament just for dead fighters. Everyone else except Toriyama just wanted Goku to continue being the focus despite his death. So continuing to force Goku to be a part of the storytelling out of pure cowardice caused Gohan to no longer be capable of fighting as a top-tier guardian of Earth. Gohan would only ever get temporary moments to stand out, only to be outsmarted or overpowered in the future. It is telling that the last project Toriyama had full control over before his death involved establishing Gohan and Piccolo finally reaching the same power level as Goku and Vegeta. Gohan's potential finally means something now. Piccolo was always Toriyama's favorite character to draw, and Cell's second form was his favorite version. All for Gohan to finally be relevant to modern storytelling in Dragon Ball, further demonstrated by Toyotaro, Toriyama's chosen successor, presenting Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Piccolo, and Gohan all as equals in power. So while he may never be given the respect he earned so long ago to be the main protagonist, Gohan is finally getting shown some love as more than just holding off an enemy before the big hitters show up. That's all for this video. Subscribe.